Hi there and welcome back to my channel. This is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video we're discussing Let Him In, written by William Friend. It's a Gothic horror, well it's meant to be. I didn't get very strong Gothic horror vibes from this. There are some Gothic horror vibes there, but not very strong. I think this book was published in the UK under the title Black Mamba. It may be published in 2022 in the UK. Let Him In is the name for the US publication, which is happening this year, very soon. I'm not sure why there's different titles for the book in different regions, but it happens sometimes. I'm sure there's also different covers as well, even though the horror elements are not strong in this story. The character study on grief is perfect. Every character displayed grief that matched who that character was in this book. And I just like the fact that they're all going through that in different ways in this story and made it feel all the more real. Also, the writing style of this book is perfect in my view. It made reading it feel effortless, and I just appreciate the author so much for that writing style. And I'm interested to see if future books from this author will have a similar style, because it just flows so well. And when you have a book that flows so well, it just makes you appreciate that book more, I think. In this story, Alfie lives with his twin daughters. His wife died about 9 months ago at the start of this story, and she died from some allergic reaction to an insect bite. So everyone in this story, Alfie, the daughters, Alfie's sister-in-law, Alfie's mother-in-law, they're all trying to deal with grief in different ways. They're all coming to terms with the sudden death of Alfie's wife. This book spans, I think, maybe 6, 7, 8 months, from about 9 months after his wife's death till a year or so. And so we get a good study, we get a good look at how these characters deal with grief over that time period. It was well done, I think, on that aspect. All the characters' feelings, all their reactions to this grief feel so real. And Alfie portrays that in a very real way, I think, in the way his life is just spiraling a little bit. He's struggling to cope, and he's struggling because he hasn't got that partner, I think, in his life that helps support with his kids. So while his kids miss his mother, their behaviour can be seen as acting out because of grief as well, and Alfie struggles to deal with that. He struggles to keep the house running, he struggles to keep everyone's life on track. He's struggling with life, basically, it seems, in this story. And that's where the sister-in-law comes in every now and then. She appears in the home at different times through the book. Not all the time, because when she's there, it brings back her own grief and her own memories and makes it even more amplified in her view. So she has conflict about that in this book. So not only do the characters struggle with grief, they struggle with sometimes guilt that's kind of twined in with that grief a bit. You know, guilt about not being there enough to support Alfie and the twin girls, because if they do that, then they have more grief of their own. And then they have this guilt about being selfish because of that. All these things just play out in the story. So as character studies go, this book is very well done in that aspect. So where the horror element starts in this story is through the twin girls. They start mentioning this invisible friend they have. This invisible friend tells them to do certain things, has strange ideas sometimes. As the book progresses, those ideas get a bit darker, more dangerous, even sinister sometimes. And they keep telling other people that adults can't see this person called Black Mamba, only the girls can. Alfie and Alfie's sister-in-law are convinced that it's just imaginary, and they're trying to get the twins to say goodbye to this friend called Black Mamba and get rid of it out of the house, out of their lives. The twins say they'll do that, but will they really? That plays out in the story as well. And the big question in this book, of course, is Black Mamba imaginary or not? Is Black Mamba an entity, some sort of being, ghost, spirit, or is Black Mamba just a figment of imagination? That's a big question in this story. In the background of this story is the question of religious beliefs and practices. So Alfie's mother-in-law and her husband, they were part of some religious offshoot church or something, and Alfie's wife and Alfie's sister-in-law, when they were younger, they were also part of this church. And one of the things in this church group, one of their beliefs was about ghosts or spirits or something, that, studying ghost spirits, trying to invoke ghost spirits, something like that was going on in this religious offshoot church. When the kids got older, so when Alfie's wife and sister-in-law got older, they left that church, didn't go back. But Alfie's mother-in-law is still involved, and she still believes in all that. That comes into this book in certain ways. When Alfie's mother-in-law comes to visit the home, she brings with her these beliefs. And she does certain things in the book, certain summoning things sometimes that bring about that in the story. So I'm just wondering why that's there. It's there to bring some sort of element into the background, maybe just add to the tapestry of the book, maybe add questions about religion, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the author's doing it for a particular purpose. It does add some sort of colour into the story. It adds more detail to the mother-in-law character, gives her character more depth, I guess, in why she has these beliefs and practices in the first place. But does this book as a whole work as Gothic horror? In some ways, yes. In a lot of ways, no. So for character reaction, so for Gothic horror, I expect character reaction. Of course, we have other things going on. We have atmosphere, we have certain events going on. We may have some paranormal things going on. We've got some things that drive fear and confusion. We've got things going on that are mysterious in Gothic horror as well. All those things play out in Gothic horror, and some of those play out in this story. But character reaction is important in Gothic horror in my view, because character reaction drives atmosphere as well. Atmosphere is not just setting. It's not just, knocks on a wall or doors opening, not just creaks and things like that. The reaction of characters is integral to atmosphere, because how characters react, how strongly they react to things they're afraid of, things they're confused about, things they're unsure about, will drag you into the story more and add to atmosphere, as to tension, suspense. And tension and suspense are key elements to Gothic horror in my view. And this book doesn't have much of that. Has it in small sections, but not enough. It needs to be more powerful and more potent in this story. The atmosphere build-up in this story wasn't always strong, and wasn't always there. In some moments it was lost. Towards the end of the book it was stronger, and it was building up to the conclusion in the book as well. So in that small section before the conclusion, the atmosphere was quite strong, but not through the rest of the book. But anyway, that conclusion as well just felt rushed to me. So we have this big section of the book, 98% of the book is trying to bring a bit of atmosphere, trying to bring history in the characters, trying to bring some events that may feel sinister, to add to the horror element, even add to the Gothic horror element in small cases. But that conclusion, that should have been a big climax in the story, was very brief, very anticlimactic even. It was too short. So it needed to be fleshed out more. It needed to be more sensical, I think. I think it lacked a bit of cohesion. It didn't really match the rest of the story, I think, in feel. So it needed something else in that ending of the book to make it really stick. Alfie, who's the father and the main character in this story, there are two sides to Alfie. I liked the character study in his grief. I thought his grief felt genuine in the story. It felt true to the character and consistent. The reactions to what's going on with the twins in the story didn't feel that real to me, that strong. So there are two sides to Alfie, two coins. One side I really enjoyed, I thought was well done. Other side I think needed work. So a bit of a miss for me. Overall, an okay character, just not the strongest character in a book like this. Julia is Alfie's sister-in-law in this book, and of course an aunt to the twin girls. She's also a child psychiatrist. Now, in this book, where there's some strange things going on, some things that can be deemed even paranormal in people's mind, if they're wondering if this entity, this invisible being, this invisible friend to the girls, could be real. I would have thought that this character would try to use science, try to look at this scientifically and try to work out if it's real or not. In some ways I think she does, but not strong enough in my view. Would have liked more of it. I think it's a bit of a miss not to have that aspect play a bigger role in this story, especially if the character's there in the first place. So I think the author could have added that in the story to make this character stand out a bit more and make her feel just a bit more real, because I think this character in some ways doesn't feel three-dimensional, because she just seems a bit lackluster when she's investigating or thinking about what's happening with the twins from a scientific point of view. The twins in this story, and I'll mention them both together, the twins are the best characters in this story. But I think the author could have gone darker into what's happening with the twins in this book. I don't know why the author held back, because it felt like the author was holding back and not having what's going on in the story with the twins so sinister. I mean, you want to add something sinister in this story, make it feel potent and powerful, then make those scenes darker, make the things happening to the twins darker and more dangerous, make them feel like they're in real danger, because in some ways I felt like they weren't. I think that would have just added something to the book, maybe even given other characters in the book more chance of having different reactions and emotions written into the story as well. So I think it's a bit of a miss, even though the twins are the best characters in the book in my view. Bit of a miss not to have things going on darker in the book for them. Even though I didn't think this was a very strong Gothic horror, I enjoyed the writing style a lot. I enjoyed the character study in grief a lot, and it was an effortless read. I rate this a 3 out of 5. I think this book could have been darker, especially with the subject matter. Could have been a lot darker, made it more sinister, give us more atmosphere in the story, because this story just kind of lacked atmosphere. For me anyway. On my channel I review many horrors. If you enjoy horror, check out my channel and subscribe. On the screen now is a link to a video for another book I'm sure you'll enjoy.